People think avoidants don't want love. They say things like, they're cold, they're distant, they'll never let anyone in. And most people nod along, assuming they understand. But here's the thing, that assumption is completely utterly wrong. Avoidants aren't rejecting love because they don't feel. They reject love because they feel too much. So much that closeness doesn't feel safe. It feels terrifying. Think about it. Every time someone steps closer, every time intimacy knocks, it's like standing at the edge of a cliff. The stakes feel enormous, and for the avoidant they've learned early on that letting someone in could mean losing themselves. So they pull back, they hide, they retreat, not because they don't care, but because every part of them is wired to protect the love they have from being hurt. Here's the twist. When an avoidant finally decides to trust someone, it isn't casual, it isn't surface level, it isn't something that fades when life gets hard. It's profound, rare, life-changing, and most people never get to witness it, because almost everyone approaches avoidance the wrong way. They chase, they demand, they try to force what cannot be forced, and every attempt, every push, just confirms the avoidant's worst fear, that closeness equals danger. I once knew someone who seemed untouchable, always distant, always composed, never letting anyone in. Years went by, until one day they finally trusted a single friend, and when that trust landed, the bond that formed wasn't ordinary, it was unshakable. They would drop everything to help, to protect, to be there. It was loyalty and love in its rarest, purest form. Remember this. The greatest gift you can give someone is your trust, and in the world of avoidance that trust is sacred, rare, and life-altering. Here's why understanding avoidance matters. Because almost everyone gets it wrong. Almost everyone misreads the signals. Silence. It's not always rejection. Space. It doesn't always mean disinterest. Yet most people panic. They chase harder. They demand explanations. They try to fill the gaps with noise, thinking that's how love is proven, and every single time they're missing the point, and the avoidant retreats even further. Here's the truth. Trust for an avoidant isn't casual. It isn't handed out lightly. It isn't something that can be rushed, forced, or demanded. Trust is sacred. If it's pushed, if it's pried open before it's ready, it doesn't just stay closed. It slams shut, often permanently, and with it goes the rare chance of experiencing one of the deepest, most loyal bonds you'll ever see. Let me give you an example. A colleague of mine had an avoidant friend. They cared, they wanted connection, but the friend was always distant. The colleague, in their eagerness to help, kept pressing, asking for emotional openness, nudging, pushing. At first, it seemed harmless, even helpful, but slowly, the avoidant friend began to withdraw completely. Eventually, they admitted something heartbreaking. They did want connection, but the pressure, the chase, the demand, it scared them away. It wasn't lack of care, it was survival. And in that moment, the opportunity for trust almost disappeared. That's the cost of misunderstanding. One misstep, one misread signal, and a potentially life-changing bond is compromised before it even begins. Most people don't see it. They assume distance is rejection, silence is apathy, space is abandonment. They don't realize that the avoidant isn't testing them to annoy them. It's their nervous system asking, is this safe? Can I let you in without losing myself? And here's the paradox. The very traits that make avoidance seem distant, unapproachable, or untouchable, are the same traits that, when understood, can lead to the most profound, unshakable connection imaginable. As Saint Augustine once said, patience is the companion of wisdom, and in the world of avoidance, patience isn't just a virtue, it's the doorway. One moment of calm, one pause instead of panic, one respectful acknowledgement of space, and suddenly, the avoidant begins to see safety where before there was only danger. That's why this matters. Because if you misread them, you don't just lose the relationship, you lose the rarest kind of trust, the kind that once given, transforms everything. Let's bust the biggest myth about avoidance right now. People think they're cold, detached, incapable of love, and that's exactly the misunderstanding that keeps so many from ever experiencing the depth of an avoidant connection. Here's the truth. Behind that composed, distant exterior isn't emptiness, it's overflow. A storm most people never get to see. Avoidants feel more than most. Every shift in closeness, every subtle change in tone, every potential threat to connection, they notice it all. But early in life, many learned a harsh lesson. Expressing emotions wasn't safe. Reaching out didn't bring comfort. It brought distance. Crying didn't bring someone closer. It left them alone. And so their nervous system adapted. They learned, if I need less, I'll hurt less. That doesn't make them cold. It makes them survivors. The walls they build aren't about avoiding intimacy. They're about protecting themselves from heartbreak. Paradoxically, the more they crave connection, the more terrifying closeness feels. Letting someone in is not sweet. It's scary. It's a risk. And for someone wired like this, risk carries weight most people can't imagine. Think about someone who never posts struggles online, never complains, never seeks validation. To an outsider, they appear distant, unfeeling. But behind the scenes, they volunteer for people in crisis, quietly help friends in ways no one notices, and care intensely without ever asking for recognition. That's avoidant love in action. Deep, silent, protective and fiercely loyal. Here's the twist. Their walls aren't permanent. They're gates. Gates that open only for those who show patience, consistency and safety. Someone who rushes, demands or punishes will never get in. But someone who respects the rhythm, honors the boundaries, and offers calm steadiness, they get access to something rare, something almost mythical. Remember this, not all storms come to disrupt your life, some come to clear your path. For avoidance, those storms, walls, distance, withdrawal, aren't about pushing you away. They're about survival, testing and protecting love from harm. And if you understand this, if you learn to see past the storm, what you find on the other side isn't coldness, it's a depth of care most people spend their lives searching for but never find. So here's the takeaway. Avoidants don't run from love, they run from bad love, they run from harm. And when the right person comes along, someone who truly feels safe, those gates open, and the love that emerges is rare, profound, and unforgettable. Now let's talk about the turning point. The moment when trust finally lands with an avoidant. It doesn't happen in fireworks, in grand gestures, or in dramatic confessions. On the outside, it might look subtle, almost invisible, but inside, it feels seismic. The avoidant begins to sense that closeness doesn't have to be dangerous, that trust doesn't have to come with strings attached. Here's the paradox. Most people think pushing harder, chasing more, or demanding answers will break through the walls, but it doesn't. Pressure triggers the nervous system, making walls thicker, gates locked even tighter. For an avoidant, safety isn't found in intensity, it's found in calm consistency. It's the steady presence that whispers, I am not here to trap you, I am here to stay. When this understanding lands, the walls that once protected them start to shift. What used to feel like a fortress now feels like a gate, and behind that gate, connection, intimacy, and loyalty that most people will never experience. But reaching that point takes patience. It takes someone willing to respect space, honor boundaries, and hold steady without panic or demand. Let me give you a real-life example. A friend once had an avoidant partner who would withdraw after arguments, emotionally shutting down. Instead of chasing, begging, or pressuring, this friend gave them space, waited calmly, and let them choose when to return. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the partner began to open up. They shared fears, dreams, and stories they'd never told anyone before. That space didn't push them away, it drew them in. This is the secret of avoidance. Trust is never forced, it's cultivated through patience, steadiness, and freedom, and once it lands, there's no going back. The connection that forms doesn't feel casual or temporary. It feels like home. It feels like breathing freely for the first time. And for the first time, the avoidant can step fully into the relationship, not out of obligation, but because they finally feel safe. Remember this: safety isn't found in intensity, it's found in calm consistency. If you understand this, you stop misreading distance as rejection. You stop confusing space with abandonment. You start seeing the subtle, life-changing shift that happens when the right person gives an avoidant the one thing they need most: safety. And once that trust lands, the bond that forms is rare, profound, and unforgettable. Here's where it gets fascinating. Once an avoidant trusts you, the connection doesn't announce itself. It's not loud, flashy, or performative. It's subtle, quiet, almost invisible to anyone on the outside, but to the one they've chosen it feels seismic. Avoidant love shows up in whispers, in small acts that often go unnoticed, in sharing the private corners of their world they never let anyone else see. It's not about grand declarations or constant validation. It's about depth, loyalty, and consistency that isn't conditional on drama or intensity. Think of it this way: most people are looking for sparks, for fireworks. Avoidants give something rare: a steady warmth that doesn't fade when things get hard. They weave you into their rhythm, their life, and their world. They rearrange their schedules to protect time with you. They notice small details, anticipating your needs in ways they may never broadcast. These aren't gestures designed to impress. They're genuine acts of care, quietly affirming your importance. Here's a real-life example. My avoidant friend never posts gratitude publicly. No social media shoutouts, no dramatic gestures, but every birthday, every difficult day, every milestone is quietly acknowledged, perhaps with a thoughtful message, a small gift, or a simple act of presence. It may seem ordinary to outsiders, but to someone attuned, it speaks volumes. It's a living proof of loyalty, intimacy, and love that runs deep beneath the surface. That's the paradox of avoidant connection. It's invisible to the untrained eye, yet transformative for those inside. A glance that lingers, a hand reaching out when no one is watching, a subtle protective gesture. These small moments carry more weight than 1,000 words. Once the gates are open, it's not just love, it's ownership of your trust, respect for your boundaries, and an unspoken promise: I'm all in. Remember this: true love is quiet. It speaks in actions, not words. And in the world of avoidance, that quiet love lasts. It doesn't fade with challenges or pressure. Once it's there, it roots itself in daily life, in subtle rhythms, in consistency that cannot be faked. The avoidant doesn't do half in, they're fully committed, quietly, powerfully, and forever. Now let's talk about why most people fail with avoidance. It's not because avoidants are unloving, uncaring, or incapable of connection. It's because almost everyone reacts in ways that unknowingly trigger them. And when you trigger them, you don't get closeness, you get distance. Here's the harsh truth: chasing, punishing, or demanding never works with avoidance. When their nervous system senses panic, pressure, or control, it doesn't read it as love, it reads it as danger. And danger makes walls thicker, gates lock tighter, and connection shrink. You think you're fixing things, proving love, or saving the bond. But what you're actually doing is confirming their deepest fears. If I let someone in, I'll lose myself. Real life example: a partner of an avoidant would call, text, and message relentlessly whenever the avoidant withdrew. Each attempt, meant to bridge the gap, did the opposite. The avoidant pulled further away, emotionally and physically. What the partner interpreted as disinterest or coldness was really survival instinct kicking in. That space wasn't rejection, it was a protective measure. The avoidant wanted to connect, but felt trapped by the intensity of the pursuit. Most people misread this completely. They see distance and assume abandonment. They hear silence and assume indifference. They push harder, demand answers, or punish. Every single one of these reactions reinforces the avoidant's fear that closeness equals danger. And once that fear is confirmed, the opportunity to build trust diminishes, sometimes permanently. That's the cost of misunderstanding. You don't just risk tension, you risk losing a bond that could have been life-changing. Avoidants aren't playing games. They aren't testing you to be cruel. They're scanning, silently asking, can I trust you with my rhythm? Will you punish me for needing space? Will you stay steady when I withdraw? Your reaction answers that question, whether you realize it or not. Remember this, you can't force love, you can only show it. And in the world of avoidance, showing love means calmness, patience, respect for space, and freedom to choose closeness. Misstep once, and you push them away. Get it right, and you open the door to one of the deepest, rarest forms of trust and connection that exists. Here's something most people never realize. Avoidants are always testing, not in a manipulative way, not to play games or annoy you, but in a survival way. Their nervous system is constantly scanning, asking one question over and over. Are you safe? Can I trust you with my world without losing myself? These tests are subtle, almost invisible if you don't know what to look for. They're not announced. They don't come with instructions. But if you understand them, you see the hidden rhythm behind every silence, every pause, every retreat. First, there's the silence test. When an avoidant goes quiet, they're observing your reaction. Do you panic? Do you call, text, demand answers? Or do you stay calm, give space, and respect the pause? Your response tells them whether silence equals chaos or safety. Pass the test, and trust begins to build. Fail, and walls thicken. Next is the distance test. They may pull back for hours, days, or even longer. To you it might feel like abandonment, but to them, distance is breathing. They need space to feel safe. How you handle it matters. Meet space with anger, guilt, or frantic attempts to reconnect, and you confirm danger. Respect it, stay steady, and the gate slowly begins to open. Then comes the consistency test. Avoidance grew up with unpredictability. Affection was given and taken away without warning. Now they watch carefully. Are you steady today, tomorrow, next week? Or do your moods shift with every disagreement? Consistency isn't just nice to have. It's oxygen. It's the proof their nervous system needs to finally relax. Finally, the control test. Do you love them as they are? Or are you constantly trying to fix, mold, or push them into your idea of intimacy? If love feels controlling, they retreat. If love feels free, they lean in. Real life example, an avoidant friend went quiet for several days after a minor disagreement. Most people would panic, text relentlessly, demand explanations. But the person they trusted stayed calm, gave space, and didn't take the silence personally. Slowly, the avoidant resumed sharing thoughts, revealing fears and feelings they had hidden for years. Trust was being built, drop by drop. Remember this, trust is earned in drops, not gallons. Every pause, every respectful distance, every steady response contributes to a bond that can become rare, deep, and permanent. Misread it once, and you lose the opportunity. Get it right, and the avoidant opens gates that few ever get to see, revealing love, loyalty, and intimacy that lasts a lifetime. Now let's close this by talking about the ultimate truth of avoidant trust. Once it's earned, it's unlike anything else. This isn't casual, it isn't temporary, it's primal, permanent, loyal. A bond that once formed doesn't fade with time, distance, or challenges. And here's the key. It's rare. Most people never experience it. Because most people misunderstand what trust looks like to an avoidant. Think about it. Patience, calm, and freedom. These aren't flashy gestures. They aren't dramatic declarations. But when consistently offered to an avoidant, they unlock something extraordinary. A bond that roots itself deeply into their nervous system. They don't just love you in the moment. They commit, protect, and integrate you into their life in ways that feel unshakable. This isn't romance as a spark. It's love as a fortress of trust, loyalty, and presence. Real life example. I've seen avoidant partners, once fully trusting, stay committed and protective of someone for decades. Not because of fireworks or initial sparks, but because trust was earned, respected and never taken for granted. They became a constant presence, showing quiet acts of care, subtle protection, and unwavering loyalty. It's the kind of bond that most people spend a lifetime searching for and never find. Here's the truth to hold on to. Once someone trusts you with their heart, it's forever. That trust is the ultimate reward. It's rare, sacred, and transformative. And if you understand this, if you learn to offer steadiness instead of chaos, calm instead of panic, freedom instead of pressure, you don't just earn love, you earn a once-in-a-lifetime connection that reshapes how you experience relationships altogether. So here's what I want you to do. If this resonates, share it with someone who keeps misreading avoidance. Start a conversation, spread understanding, save a bond that might otherwise be lost. Comment below. Which hidden test do you struggle with the most? Silence, space, consistency or control? And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss insights like this, because avoidant trust isn't casual, it's primal, it's permanent. And if you can be the presence that feels safe, steady and free, you won't just unlock their love, you'll unlock their forever.